AEW Dynamite Spring Stampede kicks off with a huge 15-man battle royale, with the winner going on and receiving that final vacant spot in the AEW World Title Eliminator Tournament. And after 11 minutes 44, it is Wardlow that goes on and defeats 14 other men. The final elimination was Orange Cassidy. The final four was Wardlow, Orange Cassidy, Brian Cage and Joey Janela. I wanted Brian Cage to have the most eliminations, setting people up to thinking maybe Brian Cage of Team Taz was going to do it. But no, it's Wardlow in the end, overcoming the likes of the returning Dustin Rhodes, Eddie Kingston and his little team of the Butcher and the Blade. Best friends were in there as well. But it's War Dog that is successful after overcoming the former TNT champion Orange Cassidy, who's the final elimination. So we get 65 for that as Pyro erupts from the Spring Stampede stage. And of course, it had to be Tony Schiavone to open things up this time around. Welcome everyone to AEW Spring Stampede. Revolution is in the rearview mirror as we race towards Double or Nothing. But to get there, we've got to go through Spring Stampede and also Blood and Guts in just a few weeks' time. A lot happened this past Saturday, including the announcement of the World Title Eliminator Tournament brackets that begins tonight. And there was one final spot in that needed filling by the Battle Royale. And as we've just seen, it is Wardlow that will go on now and face MJF for a chance of reaching the semi-finals. Imagine that. MJF against Wardlow. Sure, MJF will have something to say about it. And CM Punk defeated Nakamura on Saturday. We'll be hearing from him and his culture shock tonight. Plus, hold on a second, we're getting word there is a disturbance backstage with Death Triangle. Let's go there now. So we're in front of 8,958,000 fans in the American Bank Center Arena as we are ready for Spring Stampede. So tonight, as part of the World Title Eliminator, we've got EC3 against Darby Allin. The Motor City Machine Guns will debut here on Dynamite. We've also got Culture Shock. We're going to be hearing from them a bit later on this evening. And we've got fatal four-way action between Riho Miki, James Rojo and Shida in that main event. Kenny Omega against Sammy Guevara. Also a part of that World Title Eliminator Tournament. Pentagon Jr. is up in the face of Rey Fenix. A bit of aggression is shown with some pushing and shoving. Phoenix just takes it as Penta continues to scream in his face. He isn't happy after they lost the tag titles to FTR at Revolution. Pac finally steps in and breaks them up saying, "Hey, stop this. Okay, you lost the titles, you can win them back, but this right here needs to end right here." This provokes Penta again as he starts pushing Phoenix. "Stop! Right. Next week, you both settle this together in the ring. Penta against Phoenix. Get it done, and then we get back to business." Penta storms off. So Pac laying down the ground rules. The Lucha Brothers, they've got to put this behind them by facing one another next week on Dynamite. Should be interesting. We head then back to where we see a desperate Chris Jericho calling for help, saying, "Someone help! Come on! We need help here!" Refs are first on the scene, followed then by medics. Sammy Guevara is on the floor, screaming in agony, holding his right leg. Jericho is all over the place, he's flustered, and he tries talking to Sammy. "Sammy, what do you want me to do? Who did this? Shall I tell Tony to forfeit your match?" Sammy replies, "No, Chris, you take my place. When I get back, we find out who..." Sammy is put on a stretcher and wheeled out of the arena towards a waiting ambulance. So then it's going to be Chris Jericho against Kenny Omega in the World Title Eliminator Tournament in the main event. Alpha versus Omega, shades of that rivalry they had a few years back. Should be a good main event then. As, it's not looking too good for Sammy Guevara, is it? And what a start to Dynamite. What a start to Spring Stampede. So here is confirmation then. Kenny Omega against Chris Jericho in the main event as part of the World Title Eliminator Tournament. So the first World Title Eliminator Tournament begins with Darby Allin going over EC3 of Team Taz in 12 minutes 35 after a surprise cradle. So EC3 kind of comes out of this match still looking slightly strong. It's not a decisive win, it's not a coffin drop, and it's Darby Allin that advances through after 12 minutes. We get 72 for this match. It's a good match all around, actually. Pay-per-view worthy, I would say. We can see not many penalties for this one. EC3 putting in a decent performance. Darby Allin, though, outshining EC3. After EC3 loses to Darby Allin, Taz, who is at ringside, looks pissed and walks away, leaving EC3 behind. What does this mean? Darby Allin celebrates as he advances to the semi-finals of the World Title Eliminator Tournament. Who will he face, though? Will it be Kenny Omega or will it be Chris Jericho? We're going to find out. As up next, the limo pulls up outside the arena. Hangman Page, Dax, Cash and Tully Blanchard all step out and head towards the arena. Dax and Cash have their newly won World Tag Team Championships folded up and nestled in the crook of their arms with big smiles on their faces. On the way into the arena, they bump into Marshall and Ross Von Erich. And Dax says, "Hey, look who it is, boys. That tag team trying to emulate the no-good piece of shit family. Take a long, hard look at these titles, boys. It's as close as you'll be getting to them." They walk on as Marshall speaks up and says, "Face us tonight." They all turn around to look at him and he continues, "We've learnt a lot since our last meeting." Hangman is stood behind, having no involvement as Cash speaks up and says, "We love to, gents, but when you get to our position, you learn to choose your matches, and facing you two ain't one of them." Ross then says, "What about him?" nodding towards Paige. Paige looks pissed and says, Yeah, alright. I'll take you on. Beat some respect into you." We get a 59 for this segment, so we're going to see Hangman Page against Ross Von Erich a bit later on this evening. We needed the Von Erichs involved as part of Spring Stampede. It just feels right, and that should be quite a decent match, actually. Hangman Page in action since losing his, he's not too happy after losing that title match against Jon Moxley at Revolution. A short video is then played that was uploaded to social media last week of both Jack Evans and Angelico of Hybrid 2 arguing with the Motor City Machine Guns, Alex Shelley and Chris Sabin, about their loss on the previous Dynamite against the Young Bucks and SCU in that 8-man tag team match. Both teams agreed to settle it in the ring tonight at Spring Stampede. So, as already mentioned, we're going to have the debut of the Motor City Machine Guns here on Dynamite. I know they teamed up with the Young Bucks. Not really going to class that as their in-ring debut, although it kind of was. But this is them, just the Motor City Machine Guns in your standard tag team match. And it is the Motor City Machine Guns that go over the Hybrid 2. Angelico eats the pin from Alex Shelley after 11 minutes 24. Angelico, unfortunately, was the weakling. Gotta disagree with that. I mean, he's got a 42, which is kind of respectable, but I think someone like Angelico is definitely a better in-ring performer than just a 42. He's got to be up in the 50s, 60s, without doubt. We then see Marvez backstage after that match. With me at this time, the new number one contenders for FTR's World Tag Team Championships, the Young Bucks. Matt, Nick, it is inevitable now that you'll face FTR once again, but with the prize being much more, the World Tag Team Championships. How? Then both Doc Gallows and Carl Anderson walk in shot looking at both Nick and Matt. Doc then says, "Nice to finally see you boys again. It's been a while. Sorry we haven't caught up sooner. We've been kind of busy lately." "Yeah, we noticed. And quite frankly, we're not too happy about it." Carl Anderson, "Hey, it's just business. After all, we wanted in on this little project of yours from day one. Would have dropped everything to be here, but you just downright rejected us." "Come on, that's not how it went. You boys decided to stay in the land of sports entertainers a little longer. Why? I'm not sure. We have families. We were doing what we thought was best, but all you had to do was make the call, lads." Doc Gallows, Carl Anderson admitting then that they wanted part of AEW from day one. As it continues, Matt Jackson thinks this over seriously and then replies, "We were brothers. We went everywhere together. Damn, we had lots of fun. You know, maybe we can come up with something. Maybe start fresh." Then CM Punk walks in. "Oh, sorry. Am I interrupting something? A little family reunion?" Matt Jackson, "Nah." Nick Jackson then turns to Doc Gallows and Carl Anderson and says, "See you boys around." Nick and Matt walk off as CM Punk says, "See you boys around, huh? Don't forget what they did to you. The injustice of it all. They couldn't give a shit about you two. Just remember that." And CM Punk carries on. He walks off, leaving both Gallows and Anderson thoughtful. So there's maybe slight opening for a bit of reconciliation between the Good Brothers, the Young Bucks, the Elite, and so on. But with someone like CM Punk in the middle of everything, I'm not sure how that's going to work out, how that's going to go down. Well, it's certainly not going to go down well with CM Punk. He wants to keep the likes of Doc Gallows, Carl Anderson on side with his culture shock. Otherwise, it's just going to be down to Punk and Brody King. And who knows what Brody King's intentions are, somewhere down the line. We'll just have to wait and see. MJF comes walking into the locker room where Wardlow is slowly untaping his wrist after winning the Battle Royale earlier this evening. And MJF goes on to say, "War Dog, what can I say? You are amazing. Why did you never mention this idea of yours? You having to face me in the quarterfinals is great because that puts me just 2 wins from facing Moxley again for the title." Should be 1 win because MJF is thinking about just going over Wardlow. He's thinking that Wardlow's just going to let MJF get the win. But Wardlow says, "I didn't do it for you. I did it for me." "But War Dog, we have a deal, don't we?" "Not anymore. That was something I wanted to discuss with you weeks ago. Since then I've realised I'm better on my own." MJF is taken back and slowly leaves the locker room as Wardlow continues taking his wrist tape off. We get a 70 rating for this segment. MJF thought he had a free pass for the quarterfinals and that he was going to be in the semis straight away, that Wardlow was just going to lay down and let MJF pin him. But because Wardlow is now out of contract, that's not going to be the case. And next week, Wardlow is going to be able to get his hands on Maxwell Jacob Freeman. So we know Darby's through. We've got Kenny Omega against Jericho coming up later tonight. The winner of that will take on Darby. And then we've got MJF and Wardlow next week. And also Pac against Lance Archer. Should be interesting as we roll into our next match of the evening. The Fatal 4-Way between Riho, Mickie James, Hikaru Shida and Sarah Rowe. And in about that had decent reaction from the crowd, but subpar wrestling. Riho walks out as the winner. She pins Sarah Rowe with a surprise roll-up. It gets a 51, so that's a really good rating for our women's division here. And it does advance the Women's Championship storyline. I feel we're at such a point now where we've turned things around with this women's division. No longer are we getting 30 ratings here and there. After the match, Riho has her arm raised by the referee, but Sarah Rowe isn't too happy. She starts arguing with the ref. Mickie James has seen enough and gets involved. They start pushing one another. Riho, Shida stand back as they watch on. Then Toni Storm, the women's champion, who defended her title against Dr. Britt Baker at Revolution, heads out to the ring with her women's title around her waist. She tries to step in between Mickie and Sarah. Sarah accidentally hits Storm in the process. Storm then joins in with shouting and pushing. The lights go out. When they come back on, Tessa Blanchard is stood at the top of the entranceway. She looks ready for action. She races to the ring and clears house. It's just Toni Storm and Tessa left. They square it to one another. Tessa points at Storm's title, then leaves. Tessa Blanchard is all elite. We get a 55 for this segment. Her debut got an initial rating of great, which is fantastic to see as an arrogant heel. Think of the matches, think of the possibilities. Maybe having Toni Storm against Tessa Blanchard for the women's title. Imagine the rating we're going to get for that. Should be something special, something to watch out for. And I'm really impressed with this. Our next match of the evening. In about that had good heat and decent wrestling. Hangman Page defeats Ross Von Erich in 9 minutes 35 after a buckshot lariat. I know it says turn the page, but I can just imagine the buckshot lariat. We get 72 for this match. Christopher Daniels was our road agent. No penalties whatsoever. Really decent match from Ross Von Erich, even though he put in an in-ring performance of 46. Obviously, Hangman Page's performance elevating this match. Gotta be impressed with that. As we roll into our next segment, one I've been looking forward to. We've been waiting on them for some time. After Hangman Page picks up the win, he celebrates. ACH is then seen at the top of the entranceway. Stood behind is Will Hobbs. This gets Page's attention, allowing both Isaiah Cassidy and Mark Quinn to slide into the ring and attack him from behind. It's a beatdown with fists and kicks. The numbers game too much for Hangman Adam Page. ACH and Hobbs slowly make their way down to the ring then. Page begins to fight back. ACH slides in and joins in. Page does just enough to hold them off before FTR run out, but they don't get any further as Hobbs was standing at the bottom of the entranceway. Dax and Cash try to bring Hobbs down, but it's no use. He double clotheslines the tag team champions, rolls them both into the ring. It's not looking good for the three who are getting manhandled. Hobbs hits each with a huge, perfect spine buster. Private Party stand tall in the ring. Message sent to the tag team champions and the division itself. Isaiah Cassidy and Mark Quinn both hold up the tag team titles. This is not the way FTR envision their reign beginning. So we've had those vignettes over the last month or so of ACH bringing Mark Quinn and Isaiah Cassidy on board. They are now the Private Party. It's a faction of four. Will Hobbs, the muscle, ACH, the mastermind, the leader, and Isaiah Cassidy, Mark Quinn. Well, are they about to buy in to all this? I think it's pretty safe to say that they have, and I'm feeling pretty excited of where we're going to take their story. As Jim Ross then runs down what to expect on next week's Dynamite, we've got Rey Fenix against Pentagon. What a main event that should be. We'll hear from Cody. Miro will be in action for the first time since winning the TNT Championship off Orange Cassidy, and the AEW World Title Eliminator Tournament will continue as we get a 71 there. JR's gimmick is getting stale. Jon Moxley's music then hits as he heads out to the commentary desk ahead of the main event between Kenny Omega and Chris Jericho. It was set to beat Sammy Guevara in this World Title Eliminator Tournament, but he got taken out. As we know at the start of the show, Mox says, "Thanks for having me, gentlemen. Mox, this past Saturday at Revolution, you successfully defended your world title. Is there anyone that can beat you? Do you think anyone in the tournament might have a chance?" And he replies, "What a night Saturday was, eh? I've held this title for over a year now, and it seems no one could beat me. But saying that, there are some fantastic competitors in this tournament. My eye is on Kenny Omega though. He claims the cleaner is back. I'm yet to see any evidence of that. Maybe we will hear tonight as he takes on Jericho. Someone else I've beaten, I might add." Then Jericho and Kenny Omega make their entrances ahead of this huge main event. What's it gonna be? It's a 75 in an exceptional match. Kenny Omega defeats Chris Jericho in 21 minutes 5 after a one-winged angel. Imagine Kenny Omega getting Jericho up onto his shoulders. Wow. So it's Omega that advances through in the tournament, and he will face Darby Allin now in the semi-finals. The match getting the crowd buzzing. Jericho was visibly tiring towards the end. Couldn't go at that all-out pace. Very, very realistic, but still managed to put in a fantastic performance. Just all about experience, isn't it, from someone like Chris Jericho. Anyway, after the match, Kenny Omega is exhausted after overcoming Jericho. As he gets to his feet, he gets attacked from behind by Brody King and CM Punk, who was saw earlier in the evening. CM Punk hits a swift GTS to Omega, the first coming together between those two since he arrived here in AEW. Then they leave. Jon Moxley looks concerned as he begins to make his way to the ring from the commentary table. Punk and King exit back through the crowd. Mox climbs into the ring and helps Omega to his feet, who slowly comes around. Mox is holding Kenny up, who seems appreciative of the support. for the bad blood that they've shared in the past. It all seems to have been forgotten as they stand together as AEW Dynamite goes off the air. We get a huge 83 rating for that final segment of Dynamite. One of my favourite shows so far that I've put together. We've had that interaction between the Good Brothers, the Young Bucks. Really enjoyed putting that one together, and also this final segment as it's laying the foundations for what is to come. Remember, we've got Blood and Guts coming up in a few weeks' time, and also we'll be working our way towards Double or Nothing, which will be, I think it's the 3rd week of May on that Saturday. So something to look forward to. Hopefully I can pull this one out the bag as we run up to probably AEW's biggest show of the year, Double or Nothing. We get a 76 for this episode of Dynamite, which is fantastic to see. Pretty consistent show throughout. Not a bad show coming off that successful pay-per-view of Revolution, and with it being AEW Spring Stampede as well. Not bad at all. Let's go and see how we've done in terms of show quality up against NXT this week. So this week we had a 76 show rating. We had 8,958,000 fans in attendance, and we drew in 960,000 viewers over on TNT. And we've blown NXT out the water when it comes to show rating this week, as they got 72, and of course their TV rating a lot better than ours. Anyway, that is it for this episode of AEW Dynamite. I'll see you all very soon for AEW Dark. Don't miss it.